When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Hello everybody out there in internet land, welcome to episode 27. If you're listening live today, it is May the 25th, so I hope you're having a nice spring leading into the summer and you've got your summer holidays and everything planned. Today's guest is somebody that I've wanted to have on the show for a long time, and I was just actually talking to her before we started recording, and I first asked her if she'd be on the show back in October time, and we're recording this somewhere in May. I'm losing track of the days myself. Is it May or April? It's April, of course it is. And so fortunately for me, she hung around and she's now waiting with bated breath for my questions to be posed. So let me introduce you to her. Today's guest is the go-to lady if you're inspired to take control of your life and create your own income-producing business. For over 20 years, she worked for a large Fortune 500 company, helping company leaders, departments, and teams create and put their plans into action to make change happen. In short, she's an action lady who loves the thrill of inspiring others to take action and get things done. But if we look at her history, it has a similar tale to many entrepreneurs and self-starters, where it's clear that success hasn't been achieved overnight. Starting her first blog just for small business way back in 2004 was just the first of her online dots that can connect us to today. This led to a relationship with a book publisher, Wiley.com, who published Small Business Cash Flow, Strategies for Making Your Business a Financial Success, as they liked her knowledge, her style, and believed there was a need for small business owners to manage their cash better. So what more has she got on her plate? Well, not just content at being a coach, author and business owner, she has since November 2012 become a video star too. Not adult videos, I promise you. As now, you can find her on YouTube with her weekly online TV show, The Little Big Show, for business owners, giving great advice in small, bite-sized video chunks. Her motto is absolutely nothing. That's exactly what will happen if you don't turn your great ideas into action. And even better, or at least I liked it, her initials spell do. So let's delve into her life and start joining up some dots with the one and only Denise O'Berry. How are you today, Denise?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, David. Thank you so much for having me on here.
No, it's absolute pleasure. And you should be wonderful, shouldn't you? Because as we were talking before the interview, you live in Tampa, so you're in the sort of heart of Florida. You're in holiday country, or vacation country, as you say in America.
You bet. Yeah, absolutely. And we love the people who come and visit us. It helps make the place that we live a much better place, and we get to welcome all sorts of wonderful people to our paradise.
It's funny, I've had a few people that I've interviewed from Florida, and I had this vibe that you were going to be all going around the theme parks and hitting the beaches constantly, and they have all said to me, no, we rarely do that. We only do that when sort of guests come over and stay. Is that the same with yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Not that I don't love those places, but you know, it's kind of like the cobbler who has no shoes. When you live someplace, you have a tendency to take those things for granted, and life just kind of sort of gets in the way, and you don't step back and enjoy the beauty and the value of the things that they bring to your life. So I used to go to all the different theme area parks and the wonderful things that you can see in Florida on a regular basis when I was younger. But haven't done that in a long time. It's probably time to do so.
Let's do it. I'll fly over and we'll meet up and we'll go to one of the scariest ones. What's the scariest ones out there?
Oh, the scariest ones. Well, I don't, if you're talking about thrill-seeking type of scary, then I would say Busch Gardens, because there's lots of thrill-seeking things that you can do there. So
if you're not on the roller coaster, what does excite you? Because in your life, I'm looking at your life now, and you are an action taker. So a lot of things that you do, not necessarily on a daily basis, but at least on a monthly basis, I imagine, must take you somewhat out of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that, well, let me talk about what frustrates me. All right. What frustrates me is people that wish and don't do. And so I try to live differently. I try to be a doer, even if the do is the wrong do. So, because everything that you do, you can learn from as you move forward in your life. And that is the key. Sitting back and just observing the world, time is just going to pass. And no matter what's happening, you can look back in 10 or 20 years and go, oh my gosh, that time just flew by. And so, what really inspires me is watching people grow and taking action and helping them do that. And what frustrates me is people who don't do that and don't see the value in it.
Well, we've come from the same methodology, and that's what these shows are all about, inspiring people to take action if they are in that, not even, bad zone. I just call it contentment zone. I think contentment zone is the absolute killer of dreams, where everything just kind of floats on to the next day and nothing's bad enough to force you to take action. But ultimately your dreams suffer. Do you see that a
Oh,
lot with people that you work with?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I was there. I lived there. You mentioned in the introduction that I worked for a huge Fortune 500 company for 20 years. And I was there. I was in the contentment zone. It was a great experience. I loved the organization, and I was given a lot of opportunities and made a lot of my own opportunities in that organization. But as I got older, I realized that there had to be more to what I was doing. You know, I didn't want to look 10 years down the road and say, "Oh gosh, shouldn't I have done this or shouldn't I have done that a little bit differently?" And so that was when I took the leap to go out on my own, which boy, I didn't know a thing. I didn't have a clue about business. So that was really the scariest part. I just didn't know it was scary at the time.
So was it really a leap of faith?
Oh, it was a huge leap of faith. And, I actually waited longer than I intended to because I had so much invested in that organization. I didn't really want to lose my future as I got quite a bit older. Think pension here.
Hmm.
So I really hung around for a little bit longer than I intended to, just to make sure that I could get some of my investment back out of the organization. But I started my business 2 years before I left, which I thought gave me a little bit of a safety net. Knowing what I know now, it didn't. But it was a good thing. It was a really good thing to do what I did. And I just moved forward and started my business. And then I went, oh my God, what have I done here? So you just take one step at a time.
Well, you do, you don't. You just connect the dots, don't you? Just one
You bet.
dot after another dot after another dot. Some of them are good decisions you make. Some of them are bad decisions. Some of them seem good, but later on you look back on them and you think, okay, they weren't as good as they were. But it is that trust. It's that belief system, isn't it, that keeps you moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to do what feels right for you. Now, your basic needs have to be met. You've got to have money to live on. You've got to have a roof over your head. But that looks different for, all sorts of different people. For one person, it could mean the house with the white picket fence. And for another person, that could mean a suitcase and getting on planes and traveling around the world. So you have to decide what's right for you and what feels the best. You know, Trust me when I say as you get older, I think that you internalize that a little bit more. Young people have the gift of life, not the gift of seeing, wow, life is getting shorter, and I have so much to do, and I need to get it done. And so they have a tendency to step back and just kind of wait and see. what might happen rather than listening to what their true self is telling them and taking that step forward, whether they're ready or not.
It is fascinating that, because I was reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that book?
I have, yes. It's been a while, but yes, I have.
And it was quite a hard push in certain areas. It's quite old style. But the thing that there was a chapter that really struck me, and it might have been because I was at that point. I'm now 44 years old, and we actually launched this show on my 44th birthday. And I was reading this, and he was saying that more successful men become successful from the ages of 40 to 65. For those exact reasons, where when they're younger, they are just living life and they're trying to create a career and they're chasing girls and they're getting a family and all that kind of stuff that sort of overtakes us. And then once you get to sort of the 40s, you suddenly think, oh my God, I've wasted half my life. What should I do? And they reckon there's a kind of a panic that sort of hits in that makes men want to leave their mark on life. Now, I don't know whether that is right with me, but certainly when I was reading that, I suddenly thought to myself, my God, what have I done with my life? You know, I've just been an employee. And you know, there's nothing wrong with being an employee. We need people to be employees, and if you're out there and you're doing a job and you love it, then fantastic. That's all I would personally want for you. But with me, I suddenly realised that I was going through the motions, and I'd kind of lost my mojo. And as you were saying, you know, you stayed there slightly too long. I think I stayed at my company 3 years too long. I should have left 3 years earlier, and then I'd really be sort of where I want to be now for what I've seen from the other side. By taking consistent action every day, everything's achievable.
Right. Well, and you know, we can look back and say, you know, geez, I wish I'd have done this, or geez, I wish I'd have done that. But other than learning from those things, it's kind of wasted effort. And we all do it. You know, we all look back and say, oh my gosh, why didn't I do that? Or I regret doing some other thing. But it doesn't serve us well unless it's just a blip in time where we can say, all right, but it happened and I can't undo it. And now I have to take whatever lesson I learned from that and move it forward and let it help me shape my life for going forward and whatever I want it to be. We don't take enough control of our lives, most people. We just let things happen to us. And I don't know if that's out of fear or comfort zone or what. It's probably different for different people. But we allow that to happen. You know, it's one of the things that I've seen over and over and over again is that we spend more time planning our vacations than we do planning our life, our business, the mark that we want to make on the world. Because all of us have some special gift, some special something that's going to resonate with at least one other person. And if we don't share that with the world in some way, then we've done a disservice both to ourselves and to them.
It's the unique path, isn't it? It's a unique path that only you can tread. And I'm treading what I believe is my unique path now. And in many ways, my life is easier. Because I'm doing something that hopefully becomes natural to me. Yes, I've got to progress. Yes, I've got to get better at doing it. But it doesn't feel like work. It feels like something I can't get enough of at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. I get exactly what you're saying. You know, my video show that you mentioned that I started in November of 2012. I love video. And, you know, doing that old wish thing, I wish I'd have started sooner. And I don't have any clue why I didn't, other than the time just wasn't right, apparently. You know, something in my head, my body, whatever, just wasn't ready to do it. But I love doing it, you know, and I do a weekly show, and you just get in a routine with it. And it's just so much fun. And it was the right thing to do at the right time. But I also think that one of the things that is just so cool about today, and what's really going to be cool about 5 years from today, is the technology has just gone so crazy. There are very, very few limitations on what people can do today because of the technology that's available. Way back in, goodness, I came online in 1998, so call me a dinosaur here. But that was, it seems like 1,000 years ago now, and we didn't have all the stuff that we have today that makes things so much easier. And it's so much easier today to realize your dream because of the technology that's available, or because of someone who has the skills that can develop something for you that you need in order to help you realize whatever that gift is that you're trying to give to the world. It excites me. I love technology.
And it should excite everyone, because, 20, 30 years ago, if you wanted a business, it'd be brick and mortar, and you'd be paying rates, you'd be paying rent or whatever, and, getting hard goods in there. But now you can create a business that you don't actually have anything in storage, like Amazon. It just kind of goes in and goes out and makes a ton of money. Or you can create affiliate marketing. And a lot of these shows have kind of gone down an online world. And I know there's more to life than online, but it is potentially the easiest way to find that freedom if you're looking for it. Because unlike creating a brick and mortar, which is targeting a local area, you have got the world, haven't you? You've got customers in every corner of the world waiting for you if you just provide what somebody's looking for.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you made a really key point, and this is one of the things that I try to stress to people too. Even though we're leveraging the technology to get done what we're trying to get done, and young people today are basically born with technology. You see little babies playing with iPads and smartphones and things like that. But it's just a tool. It's just a tool to help you achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And you must never, ever forget that there's a person on the other end of that tool, because it's all about people. It's not about the technology. It's all about people. Who are you serving? How is your gift helping them? How can you make their world a better place?
What's your gift, Denise?
What's my gift? Kicking people in the butt and getting them to take action.
And do they like you for it?
Yeah, I think so.
Have you ever had anyone who says, no, Denise, you're totally wrong and I'm not doing it, even though you can see it's in front of them that a new future is just waiting?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've had clients that I've fired because they won't take action. They hire me to help them take action. We put together, an action plan based on where they want to go and what area we want to work with, and they do nothing. Well, that's not my gift, to have people whine about why they can't do things or not get things done. That just keeps you stuck. You've got to do something, even if it's the wrong thing. You have to move forward, because like we've said before, life's going to move forward. Time's going to pass, whether you're doing anything or not.
It is strange, though, isn't it, when somebody can hire you for your advice, for your expertise. It's like, I don't know if you've seen those Gordon Ramsay programs when he goes into a kitchen that is failing and he turns it around. Have you seen those, Hell's Kitchen?
Oh, yes, I love his style.
Well,
I totally love his style.
And I always think to myself, if you're asking for his help and he's coming in and he has been there, done it numerous times, why would you just not do every single thing he says? But all these owners, they resent the fact he's there, and they're failing. The bottom line, the business is going under, and there is this sort of white knight in a chef's outfit coming to help it. And he may not be a very nice man the way he does it and stuff, but still, you'd have to listen to him, wouldn't you? But they don't. I never understand why they don't.
I think a lot of it is wrapped up in ego and comfort zone and things like that. I mean, even though people can see that their business is failing, the thing that's really cool about human beings is that we always have hope, But the thing that's the problem with that is that hope is not a strategy. It won't get you where you're going to go. And so I think it's just so personal to people because you're in business. When you're in business, your business is your baby. That's it, it's so close to you. It's so part of your being that for somebody to come in and, take a machete to it, that's kind of uncomfortable.
But it's
So
failing.
you've got
It's
to,
failing.
yeah, I realize that. I realize that.
So chop
And
it
I've
up.
worked with,
Do
yeah,
anything
but
you
it
can.
doesn't
Make
have,
it successful. That's what I say.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But the reality of it is we're dealing with people. And even though they can see all of that handwriting on the wall, some people just cannot move past it. And you know what? If that's the way they want to do their thing and work their life and work their business, that's okay with me, but that's not a good fit for me to work with somebody like that because all I end up doing is getting ticked off, and that doesn't serve them very well. So I've let clients go because they wouldn't take action. You know, it doesn't serve me because it frustrates me. It doesn't serve them. They're wasting their money, and they didn't hire me just to be their whining post. So there you go.
So is this ability to fire clients, has that come with experience and confidence? When you first went into business for yourself, you must have clamoured for every client you possibly can get.
Oh, yeah.
Is it now the case that you're more selective with who you work with?
Well, yes, and I said early on I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I'd been an employee for 20 years, so I thought I did. Of course, I was very confident, and I took the leap of faith. But and when you start out, you kind of sort of just really grab at anything that's going to have the ability to help you survive, so that you can meet your basic needs. But then I think that you learn as you go along what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it's really, really important in business. And I know this is said continuously. You got to know who your target market is. You really got to know. And if you don't nail it down, then you're going to be working with the wrong people a lot. And you're going to be very frustrated, and so are they. But you got to have a really good visual of who that person or business is, so that you can know one when you see one, and so that the people in your network around you can know one when they see one and send them your way, because none of us are alone in this world. We all have plenty of people around us, and I'm sorry, but you can't do it by yourself. You really can't. You need help. But focusing on who you really want to help and knowing what that looks like as descriptively as possible is really the right thing to do. And then you stay out of that area where you're working with the wrong clients and you end up ultimately having to fire them, because the right clients are drawn to you, or you're drawn to them, or they're sent to you by trusted people. And so it just clicks a whole lot better.
It becomes easy because you found your unique path again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing. And I want to start going back over your path, because the interesting part for me was, and this is the same with so many people, when you first go into your own business, or you make that leap of faith, as you say, you have to come out of your contentment zone, and first of all, you're clamoring for everything. But then opportunities come to you, and I've seen this over and over and over again, where somebody has been telling me, I only had one focus, but because I did that so well, then something else came along, and then they had to go out their contentment zone again and confront that fear. And a lot of the time, it's going into public speaking or becoming authors. Literally every single person I've spoken to in some regard has published a book. And if I asked them, did you plan to be a publisher? Oh, no, it didn't cross my mind. So if we go back right to the very beginning, when you was at that Fortune 500 company, and you decided to leave, first of all, because you'd been there 20 years, did jaws drop when you sort of walked in one day and say, I'm going?
Oh, they were a little bit surprised. Yeah, for sure. But thrilled for me. They knew I had started my business, because I felt that ethically that was the appropriate thing to do. to tell them that. So since I started my business 2 years before I left, they were fully aware of that and fully aware of my intent at some point in time to leave. So it was a shock, but not as much of a shock as it could have been if it just dropped out of thin air. So then what do you do? What do you do when when it's finally reality? And it's interesting what you said about a book, because everybody thinks they have a book in them, at least everybody that I've ever talked to. I think it's just a personal, internal need to really get our message out to the world. And I knew I had a lot of gifts to offer as far as my book topic is concerned. And what's really ironic about that is way back in 2004, when I started writing my first blog, I really thought I was late to the party. This is 2014 and everybody's still starting blogs to this day. But in 2004, I thought, oh my gosh, everybody's blogging that's going to be blogging. And I haven't even started yet. And I had a friend, a business colleague and personal friend that kept encouraging me, why aren't you starting a blog? Why aren't you writing a blog? And I'm like, nobody's reading that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I finally realized, well, yeah, people were reading that kind of stuff. And it was a really good way to become found online, because it was becoming so prevalent and common online in order to share your knowledge that way. So that's why I started. And ironically, at the same time, I hired a book coach because I wanted to write a book. And my book coach fired me.
But you invested in yourself, which is a key part of being an entrepreneur.
I did. Yeah, definitely. But my book coach told me, your idea is not fleshed out enough. I don't think you're ready for it. So just let it go. So I did, I just let it go. But the path that it took me down was, that's how my publisher found me, was via my blog. They contacted me and said, we've read what you're writing in your blog, and would you be interested in writing a book on the topic? So there you go.
That's fascinating to me, though. That is fascinating because you're an action lady. You love the thrill of inspiring others to take action. And this book coach said, you're not ready. And you went, yeah. And you just bought into it. That seems strange how one person can make such a big difference to your core personality.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I didn't feel it right in my gut. I didn't have enough passion to put the effort into it. And it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right time in what I was doing in my business. And so it just didn't feel like the right thing. Had it felt like the right thing, I would have forged ahead without a book coach. But I was just like, I want to do this, but I've got all this other stuff going on right now. I was doing a lot of speaking, face-to-face speaking, and it felt like too much overwhelm at the time. So I said, okay, well, I'll start the blog and I'll start writing in the blog and we'll move forward with that. But the thing that's been kind of interesting with my life is that oftentimes things that I'm interested in but not gung-ho passionate about, let's do it, end up coming to me ultimately at some later point in time. So I don't know if that's too woo-woo or, university type thing for people, but that's interesting how things like that have happened to me in my life, just like the book did. I mean, that email just from the publisher just appeared in my email box one day. We noticed you'd been writing about small business cash flow. Would you be interested in writing a book? And I hadn't been trying to to find a publisher or anything like that. It just happened because I was out there,
That's it.
because I was willing to put myself out there.
It's cause and effect, isn't it? It's simple cause and effect.
Yeah.
A lot of people, as you said, the word woo-woo, you hear that all the time. And you hear about the law of attraction and all those. And I'm not going to get into that. I'd love to do an episode on that. And I might do one day. But at the moment, I don't feel it's the right place to do it. Because there's so many people that are anti it, where they think, okay, I only have to sit on my sofa watching, episodes and box sets, and then a Lamborghini is going to be delivered to me. Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. What does work is that you're getting off your backside, you're doing something, and if you're good enough, it's going to get noticed. And that's as simple as that, as far as I can see.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, one of my gifts is I speak from the heart. I'm a pretty practical person. I've tried to be impractical, doesn't work for me. And I talk to people in my writing as if they're sitting across the kitchen table from me, or maybe we're sitting on a couch enjoying a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or something like that. I speak to people. As a matter of fact, people have told me in my writing, it feels like you're in my head. It feels like you're sitting right next to me when you're talking to me. And that's just something that comes very naturally to me. And with my book, my editor told me the same thing. And ironically, the stuff that I was writing about was the stuff that I was learning through my business myself and through my clients' businesses. So it was very real stuff. So it resonated with other people. And does it resonate with everybody? Oh, I'm sure it doesn't, But I think that's one of the keys to moving forward with life and being successful is find who resonates with you and find out who you resonate with and leverage that to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. And sometimes the thing isn't going to be right to do at that point in time. But if you're passionate enough about it, and the passion word gets thrown around a lot too, you can't just have passion for something and make it so. It doesn't work that way. What's that old saying, something about passion and the money will follow. Well, sorry, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you got to have passion and talent, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, and it's not just talent, it's action. It's action.
Oh, I think it's talent as well, isn't it? You see American Idol, and you've got these people that get up on stage with all the passion in the world, and they can't hold a note, can they? They're dreadful.
Yep.
And so you get somebody who gets up there with the passion and can sing and got talent, then they've got a half a start.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a very valid point. Yep. Talent is very important. So, but you got to do something with it. You really got to do something with it in order to move it forward. And I have always relied a lot on my intuition. What's my gut telling me about this? Is this the right thing to do right now? And I'm not a hugely forward thinking type person. I have a tendency to short-term plan and make those things concrete and then keep my longer-term ideas in my head. That's what works for me. It's, it might not be the right thing for other people, but you got to have some kind of framework of where you think you want to go.
Well, that brings us nicely to the theme of the show, which is the iconic Steve Jobs speech. You said the key words there about gut and intuition. I'm going to play this now to you, and as I do with most of the guests, I'm going to see whether you believe it's actually relevant to your life and whether it's relevant to you now. So this is Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
What do you think, Denise?
Oh, I agree 100%. You absolutely cannot know what the dots are going to do until you've already been through them. So you have to have some kind of vision for where you think you want to go, and then just take that leap of faith and do it.
I can connect my dots almost dot to dot to dot. And it is uncanny. You know, I'm not going to bore people. If anyone's been listening to all the episodes, they've got the story. But I can look at it now, and I can see probably 10, 15 years back how I've ended up talking to you today on the mic. And it's unbelievable. It's so crystal clear. But, of course, going through it, I couldn't see it at all. I was just sort of making my own mistakes, making my own way, and seeing what happened. And it is uncanny.
Yes, it is very much so. You know, and you're absolutely right. It is much easier to look back, just like Steve Jobs said, and say, this is what brought me to where I am today. You know, I can't tell you how many good things in my life writing my book have brought to me. And it's just amazing. And it's that one thing that I gave up on with a book coach, and, you know, way back in 2004. So it's amazing how looking at it and looking back at that you of those previous years, and the things that you did and the things that you gave up on and the things that you took a leap of faith on shaped the way that you are today. So, you know, actually, writing the book was really easy, and pouring that information out was really easy. And the thing that's cool is it's an evergreen topic. You know, one of the really cool things about small business is, well, I wouldn't say it's a really cool thing, because we all keep making the same mistakes, but it's a challenge of small business. And that's, you know, making enough money to live on. So it's an evergreen topic, you know, even though it was published back in 2006, it's still just as applicable today, because we all think that things are going to work out better than the way we visualize them. We all think that it's going to be easier than it really is. And so we're not going to have challenges along the way. We're going to be able to just poof, and our business will be a success, and we won't have any struggles, and everybody will love what we have to do. But that's, in reality, doesn't happen. You know, it takes a lot of years to be an overnight success. And no matter who you talk to, in whatever field they're in, there's hard challenges that they've had to overcome in order to get there. And I never came to a point in time in my business where I wanted to give up on it, just because I know there's so many people out there that could use my help. You know, it's just the vision of a person from the outside looking in can make all the difference in the world. And so, but there are times when I was just kind of meh, you know, this is not what I want to do. So I would have to come up with something different, shake it up, take that other step forward, like I did with the video, you know, just take that other step forward and regain that traction again. And that's going to happen multiple times over the years as you grow older, as you become more wise, as you learn from the lessons that you live through, is you're going to have to capitalize on that and ultimately have it shape the person that you will become, which you have no clue looks like right now.
It's amazing you say that, because when you were talking about everyone believes that they're going to be a success, I started this and I had no idea that anyone was going to listen to it. And in my head, it was going to be just something that I was doing for myself. Now, that sounds madness, looking back on it now, because it's really taken on and it's doing, you know, better than I could possibly hope for. But when I first launched, well, before I even launched, people were finding it, and I was getting downloads to this show, and I was thinking, how the hell are people getting these? And I can tell you where they were actually downloading them from. And I haven't even published, and it suddenly made me think, oh my God, what I'm saying is out there in the world. And everything I had done previously had been corporate based. So everything that I did was in the office, and I affected a very small proportion. But when you suddenly see download figures and you get like this map and it says you've had 6 downloads from Nigeria and you've had 7 from Iceland and you've had all those, you kind of sit back and you think, oh my God, this is real. I better raise my game a bit. So when I started, against what your advice was there, I didn't think I was going to be a success at all. I just kind of thought I fancy doing it. Does that sound a bit naff now, I suppose?
Well, no, not really. I think it was probably what your driver was. Your driver not to make this a whole business thing that was there on a regular basis in order to profit from? Was it just to say what you wanted to say and share it with the world and
make a difference?
And hope that
make a difference.
Would listen?
That's the key thing. I wanted to inspire Bob from Bora Bora to change his life, And if I ever get an email from Bob from Bora Bora who says to me, it's because of your show that I decided to do X, Y, Z, and my life is better because of that, I would say it doesn't matter how much money this podcast has earned, I'm a success. I would say that is the benchmark of my success.
Okay. So that was your driver. So did you think that when you started?
What about Bob in Bora Bora?
Yeah.
Yes, I quit my job and I was going to become a web developer. And I'm quite good at building websites, so I thought I'm going to make websites for local businesses. And I started doing the first one, and I remember being about 3 weeks into it, and I was thinking, I'm bored with this. This is worse than being at work. And when I was at work, it was the getting there at a certain time and leaving at a certain time and all those kind of hassles. Then I had kind of freedom, perceived freedom, and I was actually sitting at my desk longer than I was previously doing his work. And I just had this moment in my head when I thought, if I'm going to be sitting at a desk as many hours as I am, I've got to do something that makes me want to sit at that desk. And yesterday I started recording at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was still doing it about 2 this morning. So it was
Wow.
it was a terrible long day. And to be honest, at the end of it, I thought I'm never going to do that again. It was too much. There was too much energy that I had to sort of put into every show to sort of get through it. But you could then take the rest of the week off.
Right.
And that to me is amazing concept, that your whole work, your whole income producing production line can be in control to that degree.
Absolutely. Well, and interestingly enough, success means different things to different people. Like what you said, the email from Bob is what makes you feel successful. So although you may not have identified it as this is my criteria for success, I think you knew it in your heart. So, some people, there's tons of people that help small business owners, tons of people. We are so lucky to have such a vast array of people and talent and knowledge to help small business be successful today. And some of them have the desire to be on stage, on television programs and share their knowledge there. And some of them have the desire to share just via the written word. And some of them have the desire to share via podcasts or via video or whatever. But that's what makes things so cool, because everybody's gift is different and everybody's idea of success is different. I have no real desire to go from TV show to TV show sharing my knowledge. That's not something that sounds really exciting to me, frankly. But there are others that do. And so that's a good thing. What I want to do is I want to be successful, and I want to help one business owner who comes to me and says, I'm stuck, things are a mess, I need help. Can you kick me in the butt and help me take action? I want to help that person take that step. It's just one step at a time. It's not huge mountains that you have to climb. It's just one step at a time. And then you will get to where you're trying to go. Or maybe you won't. Maybe where you're trying to go will change a little bit as you travel along your path. So it's I think, a good thing that we don't really know what's in store for us as we move forward through our lives. And it's scary to think how little control we really do have about moving forward in our lives. But if we all thought about that all the time, we would be paralyzed and never do nothing. So you got to trust that what you're doing is the right thing, that you're listening to the right people, including yourself, and taking the right actions in order to live your life and be happy.
And they can,
because that's really,
they can be small actions as well, can't they? They can be,
oh, absolutely.
And probably small actions are the easier to achieve and will help you build momentum. I had a lady on episode 8 called Pamela Slim. I don't know if you know Pamela.
Oh, I love Pam. I love Pam. She's wonderful.
And she was saying to me, when she tries to get people to take action, she breaks it down into such small, minute tasks that it's almost offensive. So it's like, sit down at your desk. Well, of course I can sit down at my desk. I don't need... No, focus on that. Sit down at your desk. Turn the computer on. And once you start to get that, okay, I've done 3 of these, look for a URL. Okay, I buy a URL. Okay, you're starting to build a business. And she says she breaks it down into the smallest chunks just so that people realise that it's not the big picture they're focusing in on. It's all the little bits that make up that big picture.
Oh, yes, and absolutely right. And Pam is such a gifted, wonderful person. And she's helped tons of small business owners get where they want to go. And that's true. But we're so impatient, David. We are so impatient. We see people. We see people online. We see people in the news. We see people on TV. And we go, that's the success I want. But we forget that it took them a series of steps in order to get there. You know, it's that old overnight success thing that we talked about a little bit earlier.
It's the highlights reel, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And nobody can look at this huge ending and say, I want to go from here today to that huge ending tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way. It does take a series of steps in order to get there. And sometimes you have to step sideways, take a little bit different path than you had planned on in order to achieve where you want to go. And sometimes your ending changes. So sometimes, just like you left your job, you went to work for yourself and you went, oh my gosh, this is boring. I don't really want to do that.
It was boring and hard, though. That's the thing. It was boring and hard.
Yeah. Well, and so you recognize that and you said, ooh, okay, so what do I learn from this, and how do I change that a little bit differently and do something that is not boring and hard? Well, see, now you've spent some time doing some hard things, but it doesn't sound like you're the least bit bored about it.
No,
so,
this is a drug to me. It is an absolute drug.
Yeah. And so you found your zone, you found your place in the world. And if emails aren't already pouring into your email box about how you've impacted people's lives, then I'm sure that they soon will be. That is the most exhilaration to hear from somebody, particularly out of the blue, and how you've helped them. So I truly wish that for you, and know that it will happen, because what people are saying is, at some point in time, all of the different people that you have on your show are going to resonate with someone, and they're going to take that one small step that moves them down their next path, whatever that path happens to be.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate that. I really do. Now, I'm going to just push you forward a bit. So you say that you can create a different ending for yourself, and where's your career and your finance and everything wrapped up into one? Have you got a plan for the next 2 or 3 years, or are you just sort of taking it as it comes now?
Well, right now I am kind of in a limbo type of situation. I am sustaining and looking at where I really do want to take my business, and what that's going to look like in another 5 years. I had a major life change last year. My husband passed away,
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
and well, thank you. And it really is a huge life change that makes you think about the realities of where that end is. You know, my husband was not a super old person. I'm not a super old person. Old to a good bit of people, you know, in my 50s, but still very young. And so it changes where you want to go. And I think I'm still finding my footing of where I want to head and what I want to do and what my future life and business is going to look like. I know that I want to continue to work with small business owners. How much of that is one on one? I'm not sure right now. I know that I can affect people by sharing my video show. And since I love doing that so much, that's a way to get the message out into the world. But seriously, we don't live forever. And I don't want to be 80 years old and probably nobody else wants me to do this and be doing my video show. You know, uh, it just won't work that way.
Why not? Paul McCartney,
why not?
He's still going to be on stage when he's 80.
I know, but I'm sorry. Those old rockers when I see them, I think, you know, guys, I think it's kind of sort of time to hang up your guitar. So.
Well, I promise you, on your 80th birthday, I'm going to fly over and we're going to go to Busch Gardens and we're going to find the biggest, scariest one.
Sounds good, and we're going to ride it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll watch you ride it all the time.
Yeah. So I'm still right now. I'm kind of in a flux, and I have a plan, framework for moving forward. I've been online for so long, and I've got all sorts of different systems. As technology has improved, you know, I've kind of bolted on things here and bolted on things there in order to make the whole product delivery and the things that I offer work. And so I've taken a step back and looked at applying some of my own advice to my own company and refining my systems and processes so that I can better embrace where this next chapter is going to take me.
Well, I know that chapter is going to be successful. I know it is.
Oh, thank you for that.
It's got to be, because the thing about you and the thing about every single guest, there is a combination of passion, enthusiasm, and yes, and talent and skill. But I think it's the enthusiasm which really gives you the rocket power to overcome those obstacles and make your life a success.
Enthusiasm has a lot to do with it. And finding the one good thing in not so good things that you feel happen to you, finding that one good thing and focusing on it and letting it help you take that step forward that you need to take.
Well, bringing this to the end, this is the part that I call a sermon on the mic, and this is when I send you back like a time traveller to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And you can choose any age of young Denise you want, but what kind of things would you say if you walked into the room and you saw your younger self sitting there? So I'm going to play the music, and when it fades out, I'm going to step away from the mic, and I'm just going to leave you to have this one-on-one. This is the sermon on the mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Well, I'm going to go back and talk to my 20-year-old self whose life had been disrupted by plans that were changed. I had planned on going to college and studying to be a teacher, and because of family circumstances, that just didn't happen. So I pulled up roots from where I originally lived, which was in Michigan, and had a few bucks in my pocket, sold my car, and came to Florida and said, this is where I'm going to live. Now, what am I going to do? And what I would tell myself back then is that it's all going to be okay. You have the confidence to move forward. You have the knowledge and ability to learn the things that you need to learn, and you're going to learn them as you move along. So continue to embrace your rightness and the intuition that you've trusted so much in your young life, and it will take you down the path of happiness and give you a life of financial freedom and the things that you're going to enjoy, and be surrounded by the people that you're going to enjoy. And you'll look back and say that was the right thing to do.
Words of advice for the younger Denise, and hopefully all of us out there are listening to those, because they're words of advice for all of us. Just before I let you go, Denise, how can people connect with you?
How can people connect with you? Probably the best way for people to connect with me is to visit my website, which is deniseoberry.com. I'm on all the social networks, Twitter at Denise O'Berry, of course, and on LinkedIn. I love to connect up with people on LinkedIn. So you can pretty much find me via my name. I've been pretty active on Google+. And of course, don't forget to pay a visit, especially if you're considering a business. Don't forget to visit my my YouTube channel, my weekly show, The Little Big Show. You can find me there under either thelittlebigshow.com or Denise O'Berry, and maybe there's something that will resonate with you.
I'm sure there will be. You are everywhere, aren't you? When I started getting your notes together. Normally I do Twitter, Facebook and stuff, but with you I had to narrow it down, because I thought, my God, there's so many areas that Denise O'Berry was coming up on, which is the way it should be, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. That being everywhere is not a bad thing.
There you go. That is the words of the show. Be everywhere. Well, Denise, I wish we could have more time with you, because it's been an absolute delight to have you on the show today. You've been open and generous, and of course talkative. And as I say to all the guests, please come back in the future, because the beauty of this show, Joining Up Dots, is that our history keeps on going forward. And I believe that by joining up our dots and connecting our pasts, we have the best opportunities to build our future. Denise O'Berry, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, David. The time has flown by, and I really am grateful for the opportunity to be here and share my thoughts with your audience.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.